Hey everyone, it's been a little while. Welcome back. Today we're going to be going over a new Star Wars Iceberg. I found this one online on Reddit, I believe. Just had a lot of interesting things on here that I thought would be cool to talk about. I apologize that it's been a little while. I said I would get to one of these soon. I unfortunately had a computer situation where I lost everything on a computer, including all my files, so having to start all over this from scratch. So thanks for bearing with me. But yeah, I'm looking forward to getting into this iceberg. This iceberg is about 8 parts, I believe. So today we're going to be going over part 1. Han shot first. The Han shot first debate stems from a controversial change made to Star Wars A New Hope in its 1997 special edition re-release. In the original 1977 theatrical version, Han Solo was confronted by the bounty hunter Greedo in the Mos Eisley Cantina. Greedo threatens Han over his debt to Jabba the Hutt, and Han preemptively shoots and kills Greedo without warning. However, in the 1997 special edition, George Lucas altered the scene so that Greedo shoots first, albeit missing at point-blank range, and Han fires back in response. This change sparked backlash from fans who argued that it weakened Han's character, changing him from a ruthless, street-smart smuggler to a more morally justifiable hero. Lucas later made further tweaks in the subsequent releases, making it appear as though Han and Greedo fired simultaneously. The 2019 Disney Plus re-release even added the word McClunky before Greedo shoots, further fueling the debate. Despite Lucas defending the change by saying it was always meant to be that way, many fans, and even Harrison Ford, in his grumpiness, dismiss it, firmly believing that Han shot first. Han definitely shot first. If you think otherwise, don't talk to me. Willrow Hood. Willrow Hood is a minor yet beloved character in Star Wars lore, known for his brief appearance in The Empire Strikes Back. He is seen running through Cloud City during the Imperial takeover, carrying what appears to be an ice cream maker. Though his role in the film lasted mere seconds, fans latched onto his mysterious presence, turning him into a cult favorite. Over time, Star Wars expanded his backstory, depicting him as a rebel sympathizer who was protecting valuable data stored inside a Camptono, a safe container later popularized in The Mandalorian. At conventions, fans often honor him with the Running of the Hoods, where groups dress up as him and jog through event halls while carrying Camptonos. Despite his minor role, Willrow Hood has cemented his place as a symbol of deep Star Wars fandom. Colin Trevorrow. I'm combining this one and Episode 9 script because they're essentially the same thing. The Colin Trevorrow Duel of the Fates script refers to the original version of Star Wars Episode 9, written by Colin Trevorrow and Derek Connolly before they were removed from the project and replaced by J.J. Abrams, who ultimately directed the final movie. The script, titled Duel of the Fates, was leaked in early 2020, revealing a vastly different story from the final film. It featured a much darker tone, with the Resistance launching a final assault against the First Order, while Rey, still a nobody, not a Palpatine, struggled with her connection to the Force and the teachings of Luke Skywalker's Force Ghost. Kylo Ren, unredeemed, sought ancient Sith knowledge from a master named Tor Valum, and ultimately met his demise. The film also included more significant roles for Finn and Rose Tico, highlighting a stormtrooper uprising. Fans widely debated the script, with some preferring it more thematically consistent and original approach compared to the final version. However, creative differences between Trevorrow and Lucasfilms, combined with Carrie Fisher's passing, reportedly contributed to the project's cancellation, leading to the development of The Rise of Skywalker instead. If you have more time, this subject could really do as a whole video in and of itself. All of the concept art pretty much got leaked. It is insane, and it's everything that it should have been, but instead we got the jumbled mess that is Episode 9 by J.J. Abrams. So yeah, if you have time, go look into this more yourself. It's really cool. Jedi Census. The Jedi Census phenomenon refers to an unusual trend where people in various countries listed their religion as Jedi on official government censuses, often as a joke, protest, or cultural statement. This movement gained traction in the early 2000s, particularly during the national censuses in countries like the UK, Australia, Canada, and New Zealand. The phenomenon started largely as an internet-fueled prank, with people claiming to follow the ways of the Jedi Order from Star Wars. However, in some cases, significant numbers of participants led to debate over religious classification and how government should handle non-traditional beliefs. Despite its humorous origins, the Jedi census response highlighted broader discussions on religious identity, secularism, and the impact of pop culture on society. Darth Jar Jar. The Darth Jar Jar theory is a fan theory suggesting that Jar Jar Binks, the clumsy Gungan from The Phantom Menace, was secretly a Sith Lord working alongside, or even above, Emperor Palpatine. The theory gained popularity due to Jar Jar's unexpected political influence and some peculiar moments in the prequel trilogy. Here's a few key arguments for the theory. Basically, Jar Jar's exaggerated clumsiness is reinterpreted as deliberate and highly skilled, similar to the drunken fist fighting style. Some fans argue his movements in battle, such as in the Battle of Naboo, suggest hidden combat prowess. He also has intense political manipulation, seemingly. In Attack of the Clones, Jar Jar is the one who motions to grant emergency powers to Chancellor Palpatine, setting the stage for the rise of the Empire. The theory suggests he was not an unwitting pawn, but a co-conspirator. He also has unprecedented trust to Palpatine. Jar Jar, an outsider and a joke to most, somehow remains close to Palpatine throughout the prequels, leading some to speculate that he was part of the Sith Lord's plan all along. While George Lucas has never confirmed this, some fans believe that Darth Jar Jar was an actual scrapped idea, and that Jar Jar was originally intended to have a larger role before backlash against the character led to a diminished presence in later films. Even though it remains a joke among Star Wars fans, the theory has persisted as an amusing what-if scenario in Star Wars lore. There's plenty of videos on this that go much more in depth. I would encourage you all to go take a look at those as well. Grey Jedi. Grey Jedi are Force users in Star Wars who walk the line between the light and dark sides of the Force, rejecting the strict dogma of the Jedi Order while also avoiding full corruption by the Sith. The term has been used in different ways throughout Star Wars lore, but it generally refers to those who believe in balance rather than absolute allegiance to one side of the Force. Types of Grey Jedi would be those who disobey the Council. Some Grey Jedi are members of the Jedi Order who defy its strict code but still fight for good. They may question the Jedi Council's decisions or use unorthodox methods, such as Qui-Gon Jinn, who often ignored the Jedi Council's commands, following his own interpretation of the Force, though he was still a Jedi. This can also include Force users who follow their own path. Some individuals reject both the Jedi and the Sith entirely, using the Force in a way that is believed to be truly balanced. An example would be from the Knights of the Old Republic game, Jolee Bindo, a former Jedi who left the Order and lived as a hermit, using both light and dark side abilities without fully embracing either side. The most famous example of this would be Ahsoka Tano, for example, who leaves the Order but still fights for good, making her similar to a Grey Jedi, though she never identifies as one. While Grey Jedi aren't officially part of the Star Wars canon, the idea of Force users who reject both Jedi and Sith philosophies continues to be explored in various stories. 1313. Star Wars 1313 was a cancelled action-adventure game developed by LucasArts, first revealed at E3 in 2012. It was set in the criminal underworld of level 1313, a dangerous, crime-ridden district deep beneath the surface of Coruscant. The game was intended to be a darker, more mature take on the Star Wars universe, focusing on the bounty hunters rather than Jedi or Sith. The game was designed as a third-person cinematic action-adventure with Uncharted-style platforming and cover-based shooting. Players were initially set to control a new bounty hunter, but it was later revealed that the main character would be a young Boba Fett, rising through the ranks of the criminal underworld. The story was expected to explore the gritty, morally complex world of bounty hunting, with no Force powers or lightsabers involved. It was cancelled because in 2012, Disney acquired Lucasfilm and shut down LucasArts in 2013, canceling 1313 and other projects being done. LucasArts had reportedly been struggling with development issues, and Disney decided to license Star Wars games to EA instead of continuing in-house development. Despite its cancellation, Star Wars 1313 remains one of the most famous Star Wars games that never was, remembered for its ambitious vision and potential to tell a unique story in the franchise. I love the Bounty Hunter game, and I think this would have been the true sequel to that, and the fact that we never got this game is an atrocity. Lucas's sequel. George Lucas's original vision for the Star Wars sequel trilogy was significantly different from what Disney ultimately created. His plans would have explored the mystical side of the Force, focused on the rebuilding of the Jedi, and introduced a new villainous threat tied to the microscopic Force-sensitive beings known as the Wills. Here's a few key elements of Lucas's sequel trilogy. Luke rebuilding the Order. The trilogy would have been focused more on Luke Skywalker, training a new generation of Jedi, though the Order would have been small and struggling. Luke was envisioned as a wise but flawed mentor, similar to Yoda in The Empire Strikes Back. It would also be revealed that Leia was the chosen one. Lucas saw Leia as the true protagonist of the sequels, leading the effort to rebuild the New Republic. And by the end of the trilogy, she would have fully restored peace and stability, fulfilling Anakin's original destiny of bringing balance to the Force. The villains would have been Darth Maul and an apprentice. Instead of First Order and Snoke, Darth Maul would have been the main antagonist. After the Phantom Menace, Maul would have survived and become a major crime lord, which ultimately did happen in the Clone Wars show. He would then also have a female apprentice named Darth Talon, who would have been the trilogy's central Sith figure. Lucas also wanted to introduce the Wills, an ancient race of Force-sensitive beings who influenced galactic events. The trilogy would have delved deeper into how the Force works and explored midichlorians and their connection to the Wills. This mystical storyline would have shown the Force as a grand cosmic battle between light and dark beyond just the Jedi and Sith. This version was never made because of Disney buying Star Wars and Disney choosing to go in a different direction, leading to what would become the mess that is the current sequel trilogy. Lucas's sequel trilogy would have been more focused on mythology, the Force, and the legacy of the Jedi, rather than a war between the New Republic and a resurgent Empire. While his ideas remained unproduced, elements like Darth Maul's crime empire and Luke's disillusionment did influence later Star Wars projects. Yoda's species. Yoda's species remains one of Star Wars' greatest mysteries. George Lucas deliberately kept details about their origin, homeworld, and even their true name secret, adding to their mystique. Here's what we do know. They do have a long lifespan. They live for centuries. Yoda was 900 years old when he died, and Grogu in The Mandalorian is still considered an infant at 50 years old. We also know that every known member has been extremely Force-sensitive, suggesting it's an inherent trait of their species. They average about 66 centimeters or about 2 feet tall, but despite their size, they are incredibly agile and physically strong. Since Star Wars began, only a few members of Yoda's species have appeared, including Yoda, Yaddle, a female Jedi Master seen in The Phantom Menace, Grogu, a child from The Mandalorian, and Vandar Tok'er from Legends, a Jedi Master in the Knights of the Old Republic video games. Some fans speculate that Yoda's species could be descendants of the Wills, the mysterious beings tied to the Force that Lucas originally envisioned as part of Star Wars' mythology. Others believe they come from a hidden Force-rich planet, explaining why they are so rare. George Lucas has repeatedly refused to name or elaborate on Yoda's species, saying he's a mystery character, a magical character he has no background. Dave Filoni and other Lucasfilm creators have followed this directive, preserving the enigma. Until Star Wars officially reveals more, Yoda's species remains one of the franchise's most intriguing unsolved mysteries. Luke's second lightsaber. Luke Skywalker's second lightsaber, often referred to as his green lightsaber, was the weapon he constructed after losing his father's blue lightsaber during his duel with Darth Vader in The Empire Strikes Back. It was built between The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, likely in Obi-Wan Kenobi's abandoned hut on Tatooine. It was modeled after his lightsaber, Obi-Wan Kenobi's, rather than Anakin's, featuring a similar hilt design. It also had a green kyber crystal-powered blade, and the hilt was shorter and thicker than Anakin's, designed for one-handed grip, but still effective for two-handed combat. Unlike Anakin's lightsaber, which was passed down and later destroyed in The Last Jedi, Luke's green lightsaber vanished from the sequels. It is last seen clipped to Luke's belt in The Last Jedi flashbacks when training Ben Solo, and the sequels never explicitly state what happened to it, leaving its fate as a mystery. George Lucas actually changed the blade from blue to green because it was harder to see against the bright sky in the Sarlacc pit scene. Luke's green lightsaber remains one of the most iconic weapons in Star Wars and is often associated with his growth from a reckless learner to a true Jedi Knight. E.T. in the Senate. Spielberg included Star Wars Easter eggs in his film, like E.T., where a child dressed as Yoda is seen during Halloween. In return, Lucas placed E.T.-like aliens in the Galactic Senate during a scene in The Phantom Menace. The aliens are later named Greplebs, a nod to Spielberg, just his name spelled backwards. Although this cameo led to expanded lore, including theories about ET species using the Force, much of this was later considered non-canon after Disney's acquisition of Star Wars. ET species was retroactively named Asognia from the Star Wars Legends universe. Alright everyone, that's going to do it for part 1 of this iceberg. We'll be back here next week for part 2. Thanks for bearing with me. Hopefully I can get some of the files back on my computer. Right now I'm having to do this on a very crappy laptop, so I apologize if something looks off. But yeah, stick around if you're wanting to look at part 2 next week.